Since our initial chat, you and I have talked about so much, a lot of
Yeah.
things. Hopefully an hour will give us enough time to dive into all those things, but let's see.
Okay.
I want to start first with what you and I talked about most recently, which is the interplay between artificial intelligence and embodied wisdom. Was there a specific moment in your own life or work where you felt the friction between the algorithm and your humanity? And what did that experience teach you about how we should be designing for real human beings right now?
Wow, I love that question. All right. I am thinking a lot about
Yeah.
leading into the 2028 election. And the first
Yeah.
time it really struck me that our filters for information were leading us to more and more cultural dissonance
Mm,
was I made a documentary in 2020 where, because of the COVID pandemic, we couldn't be with the two different political operatives that we wanted to build the story around.
mm,
So we had to give them camera packages and mics and teach them remotely how to film the events going on in their lives. And we got footage back in the like the week after the first presidential debate, which would have been end of August, like early September of 2020.
hmm
And it was so clear that one person was with her daughter at her home office in pajamas with her Zoom crew in a computer in the background watching it, just her at home. And then the other participant was in a giant ballroom where only the wait staff was wearing masks, and there were 300 people all sitting around crowded dinner tables, and they were watching the exact same event. They were both watching, like, it's like
Wow.
imagining that there are people watching the Super Bowl and some people are watching it from one lens and one perspective, and other people are watching it, reading it in an entirely different way. And so that to me was such a clear moment of, oh, these people are ingesting and relating to information in their own lives, same information, completely different
Completely different.
set of experiences. So yeah,
Mm.
that to me was like a really clear friction point, and I think about that a lot increasingly right now.
Honestly, it's I heard something beautiful recently. I had a chat with a friend and we were talking about AI and the differences about the information, how we're consuming it, what does it mean, the information we have access to, and we're all concerned about the data centers. Where is it going to be coming from, right? And this friend, someone I've interviewed, he said something beautiful. We are focusing so much on what the future of this technology looks like, and at the end of the day, we're forgetting about the most important thing, which is the loneliness epidemic that is already here, that is claiming lives. And
Yeah.
there's so much that we don't know about how to solve that. And
Right.
we're so connected to the world because we have access to all this information and automation, but yet why are we still so lonely? And the question I have for you is just reflecting into your own life, because right now your life and your work are literally split between places. From what I
Yeah.
understand, with your husband in Vermont, you in Philadelphia,
Mm-hmm.
and your work is spanning the tech, in-person community spaces.
Yeah.
And if you were to treat your own life as a user experience that you are intentionally designing,
Mm.
what are the choices and the trade-offs that this particular season in your life is forcing you to make about connection, home, and where you want your energy to live?
Whoa. Yeah. Big questions. I honestly, I think a lot about nature. And at the same
hmm
time, I think a lot about the fortunate interplay in my life, especially being in Philadelphia, which is such a dense, collaborative city, where chance happenings occur all the time. And it
Yeah.
is rare to like the incredibly common user experience for me is see something on Instagram, attend it, see someone I've already met somewhere else.
Mm.
And that sort of flywheel of expansion is uh is really thrilling to me to think about what is that interplay between, oh, someone mentioned this speaker. Oh, they're coming to Philadelphia. Oh, I'll go to the screening of their film. Oh, of course, two other people I know are at the screening. Great. Oh, they're also going to this thing. Oh, wonderful. Of course I'm going to go. Right. So that the interplay becomes, yeah, really, really more and more connected. And
Mm.
I do think there's something unique about cities that allow for
Yes.
that connectivity. So I find myself deeply invested in the built environment of a city, how it is conducive to, it forces us to, it encourages us to um, notice, the missing cat poster on the telephone pole, and notice when our favorite cafe closes, or
Yes.
notice, the changing tenor of a neighborhood. Um, yeah, like this morning. Oh, I'll have my first shout out. Okay,
Yes.
can I tell?
Yeah.
I'm making like I made a list of people that I horrible handwriting. Thank you typewriters. Thank you typewriters and spell check.
Right? You
Um,
can't do it when
you
it's by
know,
hand, but it's all good.
you know. Um, I went this morning to a coffee connection like meetup, and I had heard about it because in the summer, someone had mentioned going to this event in a big park at FDR Park in Philly. So I went and I met the organizer, and it was really an interesting, like, wellness community event. And she then started creating coffee meetups around the city. So I went to one, and it turned out that it's only, there were six people there. One of them had moved out of my exact building the same week I moved in. Like
Whoa.
we just missed being neighbors. It meant that I got to catch up on all the goss of like, oh, they're changing the parking regulations and they still haven't fixed the barbecue outside, and the roof just is, all of that fun stuff. So
That's
that was
awesome.
wild.
That's
And
crazy.
then I'm building a lot of work around grief, and I'm building this experiential performance art piece around grief and play. And one of the other women at this meetup was about to present her work through the entrepreneurial program at Drexel. And
Mhm.
she was getting her entrepreneurial, like, a degree of some sort, but she had become a death doula over the course of the last 4 years, and was finally turning that into a full company, not just like her own sort of
Wow.
side hustle personal project. So we just spent like an hour in the morning at a cafe talking about death and play and spaces where people can share collective grief. Um,
Oh,
so I think, to zoom back out and reattach myself to your question, is I see that there is a friction point if it is only if there's no like loop back to
hmm.
sort of triangulate the truth of something. And I think when there is a loop between what happens on our screens and what happens in our like embodied lives, when those loops are reinforced by the people that we share our lives with, then then that has like deeper meaning.
Mm.
So it's not just about single point of truth. I am more and
Yes.
more convinced that healing experiences and the experiences of value are going to be created through triangulations of truth.
That is so beautiful because what you just shared, right? I mean, what first of all, what are the odds that you'd meet the same person
Crazy.
crossing paths 1 week apart, right? I have this prediction, and I think it's a prediction that so many of us can. I mean, I won't say so many, but based on conversations I've been having, I know a lot of people feel this way, which is I believe within the next 2 years, if not sooner, human connection will truly become the ultimate commodity. And
Yeah,
we're going to
for sure.
yearn for real stories tangible experiences and like
Yeah.
genuine content created by actual human beings.
Yeah.
And I think what's really cool about this conversation, especially right now, as someone like yourself, I mean, you're living in this unique intersection of
Yeah.
tech, community building, and immersive storytelling. For you, is there a vision for the future that gives you hope for what's to come? And where do you see your place within that vision?
Yeah. I do have hope. It's a little scary, but I've been thinking a lot about the I think I had forgotten how adjacent temporally the Industrial Revolution in America and the Civil War really were deeply intertwined. And
Hmm.
so, and I've also, story wise, so that's sort of like the tech part and also the
Yeah.
community part. And the story part of that is, or at least the creative part of that, is recognizing the birth of photography, also intersecting that timeline. Because,
Yeah.
wow, I really didn't think I'd. Anyway, woof, sidebar. Okay, side quest.
I love it. Keep going. Just keep
Yeah,
going.
the I had the ability to go work in Yellowstone in 2022, and it meant in like studying a lot of the history of the birth of Yellowstone. And one of the things that is so true about Yellowstone is that, among many other things that are true about it, is that one of the things that allowed the expedition to convince the government that yes, this is a natural wonder, we should endeavor to preserve this, is that not only did they have sketch artists being able to draw, oh my God, we've never seen canyons this wide or rocks this striated or hot water spewing from the ground, but also they had photography as like an additional triangulatory document, right? A creative
Yeah.
truth point. And so the birth of photography totally changes how we think about truth over distance. If I'm not there in experiencing this thing, how do I know that it is real? And therefore, how can I put resources towards validating or preserving or saving that, right?
Mm.
And at the same time, artists, like the birth of Impressionism and the birth of abstract art and Cubism, is that we have to say, okay, well, our job is no longer to be the documentarian of these wealthy patrons, to draw the ships and the castle and the portraits as accurately as possible. That's not our job anymore because we have cameras that can do that. So we have to figure out, like, well, what is our job?
Mm.
That's how you get impressionism. That's how you get Van Gogh, and that's how you get Monet. Record Cezanne, like recording the light as it's changing, recording the
Mm.
ephemeralness of the experience.
Mm.
And when I think of that intersection, um, I can't help but think about where we are now. Or I guess when I think about where we are right now, I can't help but think about all of those things, those intersecting communities, and how rail travel and telegraphs and journalism and photography all created the possibility for workers' rights and ending slavery and all of these other things that happened in that pressure cooker.
What you said, actually, one of my previous guests talked about this, that connection, right, between the
Yeah.
advancement of technology, things that are happening during pivotal points in history, and quite often when those two things intersect, where it's the Industrial Revolution and the Civil War, or any kind of war for that matter,
Mm-hmm.
it's usually an opportunity for extraction and dominance
Yeah.
from one side over another.
You get
And
a bingo point for extraction. I've been hearing that one
yeah,
a lot. Okay,
it seems
cool.
to be coming up a lot because I
It does.
think I've experienced a very micro version of this whenever I have IP, like intellectual property for
Yes.
something I'm working on. I put it into the machine. I used to not stop and think, but now I'm like, hmm, what learning language model is going to extract this idea? Will it end up on a competitor's plate somehow indirectly that I can't?
Yeah.
So there's all these questions, right? And I think what's been really interesting about this point in human history is one, career transitions and
Oh,
professional identity
yeah.
are really profound. I'm having a lot of these conversations recently, and
Yeah.
then I think what's also happening, what's coming from these conversations, is people are trying to figure out where's their place in this world that
Yeah.
we are just starting to learn about. And my question for you is, when you think about your own career up to this point, is there a story that comes to mind where you learned more from the friction than from the wins? And how is that influencing the offering you're trying to build right now, right?
Yeah. I feel like I have been oddly fortunate in that everything I've done has felt really hard and has changed a lot. Um, I think I'm gonna actually shout out my friend C. Craig Patterson, who we had a conversation about exactly this career pivot like a week ago. We went to USC grad school together. He's a brilliant writer and storyteller and has been doing a lot of work in the VR and like using AI and gotten more into animation than I think he ever thought he would. And now is looking at, oh, the career dream maybe isn't so much Oscar award winning film. The career dream is like creative directing the Olympics.
Mm.
And that at the end of the day, like storytelling and user experience in the way that the audience is the user of your story, right? That I think I've been fortunate to be in a lot of positions where I'm working on something that is at the exact next step of what it is going to be.
Mm.
But the really, I went to grad school pretty late. Well, I don't know, late is a dumb way to say it. Um, I had already had a lot of professional experience before I decided to make a career pivot and go to grad school. Because at the
Mm.
time I was working at a YouTube channel. It was super cool. It's a multi-channel network. We were doing entertainment news with a comedy focus. I had shout out Roth Cornett was my boss at the time, and I was one of the people charged with building this YouTube channel that was like 3 shows a week and a team
Mm.
of 3 people to we're going to make 20 shows a week. And we're going to have a team of editors and a team of designers and a staff of writers. And we're going to be doing, PR outreach for Star Wars and Black Panther and Thor and Wonder Woman and um,
Wow.
all these big brand deals. So I was in the beginning of the extreme level up of that. And I learned a
Wow.
lot. Shout out Michael Chang for still being a great mentor and person I can call.
Love mentors.
Um, yeah, right? Really do. Really am grateful for the ones that I've had. And that taught me so much about what my live theater skills brought to this world and my immersive and interactive and like improv skills brought to that world because they were just starting YouTube live and Facebook live. So to be able to say, okay, we've got all of our ducks in a row, we know which cameras we're cutting to in real time, we know what our talent is, we know how often we're calling out for our commercial our like ad breaks. And we've got someone watching the comments and paying attention to the live studio audience. And like I had worked in theater enough to be able to have those skills really suit me well in that
Mm.
regard. And then from there, I knew that I didn't, we were in a news studio and I was like, I don't think this is the place for me in a bigger sense. I wanted to start
Mm-hmm.
really directing my own work and creating my own work. So I went to grad school, and that's where I met C. Craig because we were both producers on this short film. And yeah, shout out Latia and the whole cast and crew of that. It's called The Cipher. I don't think it's on HBO anymore, but it was
Yeah.
incredibly well written. It was actually set in Philly. Uh, Set in Philly. The guy Wes who wrote it had gone to
Mm-hmm.
Drexel, and it's um, about a battle rapper who gets outed for being gay at a rap battle, and it's like a tight fucking. It was a great script.
I gotta see this. Where can
Yeah,
I see it? Do we know? Yeah, I'll put it in the
yeah,
show
I'll
notes.
find
But
out.
like, yeah,
It might still be on HBO, but I think the license maybe has expired. Um,
okay.
but it was incredibly hard to make. It was a really ambitious project, just in the context of like the scope and how much time we had. And it was so different than anything else that the USC faculty had made. And it stretched me a lot in wonderful ways. And also, like, it allowed me to work with people who were incredibly kind and forgiving and recognizing that we were all like figuring out this thing together. Um, and so then that allowed me to make Us versus Us, which was, oh god, sidebar. Yeah, my like one of my stepbrothers died in the weekend before we were going to start filming. And that was a real like wake up call. I totally blew up at an extra on set, like really unprofessionally. And it was so humbling to recognize how much I was clearly like beyond burnt out, just
Hmm. Hmm.
crumbling and not skillful at delegating or being honest about my limitations in a way that could help support the overall project.
Hmm.
And going through that really publicly allowed me to then, when I made Us versus Us, like we got greenlit and then the pandemic happened and the entire project had to change, and the entire project was changing every 3 weeks because it was the summer of 2020, and it was constantly scary. And I was so grateful that I had done so much work on myself to be able
Hmm.
to be a supportive creative leader to a bunch of members of my crew who were going through the worst thing in their lives.
Hmm.
So like, so yeah, I think all experiences are cumulative, right? And so that
They
was
are.
one of the biggest, like, oh, I had this really hard job that I did okay at, and then I got into a position that was even harder that I really publicly failed at, and was able, I mean, not fail, but you know, everyone has a shitty day. It
Yeah,
just sucks to have a shitty day. It
it
sucks to have
does.
a shitty day. It
It
sucks to like
does.
do it in front of people you respect.
Yeah.
And it's useful information because it allows you to really acknowledge how poorly you're doing. And then you can like step back and assess, like, wow, yeah, all right, okay, what have I done? How do I not repeat this? How do I not repeat this?
Well, look,
Um,
I
yeah.
thank you for sharing this story because it's so, like, it's important, right? I think the
Mm,
hardest part of all of this, when you work in any form of media, film, TV, there's inherently stress that
yeah.
comes with it. But I think when things are amplified with things going on behind the scenes, you know this as well as I do, right? Like, whatever comes out is a symptom of something else. And I
Yes.
think
Yeah.
which, from our conversations, and if it's okay for me to talk about Carnival of Feelings for a moment,
Oh yeah.
this beautiful thing that you have worked on beautifully highlights everything that you were talking about, right? Because you took a moment to step back and reflect on what happened on set, and it was a very public experience. And I think there's a symmetry here to what you've created with Carnival of Feelings, because
Mm,
if it's okay if I can read this out loud, this is just a little
mm.
description.
Oh sure.
Uh, we all have a lot of big feelings, especially right now. What can we do with them? Fretting about them alone isn't nearly as fun as playing through them. There's
Mm,
plenty of mounting research about the value of play to process grief, the benefits of physical activity to help regulate our emotions, and the positive side effects of being vulnerable in a team.
mm-hmm.
Exploring denial, anger, bargaining, devastation, acceptance, and activities for each individual one: the keepy uppy, the pop it, the prize booth, the claw, recovery tents. Now, when you look back on this first experimental run of the Carnival of Feelings, what did you discover it is really about for people? And can you
Oh,
share a moment with either a guest or a game where you realized, okay, this is what grief and big feelings actually require of us when we try to hold them in community?
yeah. I honestly am so proud of the whole team that put together the carnival. And so we did a tiny version of it in May of this year. And that was actually where I met a woman named Alyssa who commissioned us to then, we're going to be making it for a giant group of middle school and high school students here in Philly in May as part of their
Oh, I
Mental
love
Illness
that.
Week. Yeah, I'm
Oh,
stoked. I'm stoked. I applied for a grant to help bring it to life. So we'll see. But yeah, it's very exciting. And she was just like walking through the pier. It's a cool public thing. She came through, is a big champion of it. So shout out Alyssa Best. But when we did it in September for the Fringe Festival here in Philly, one of the things I love is people don't know what it really is. Everyone's been to a carnival, everyone's played like ring toss, and like we all understand the concept of, oh, there's a booth, there's a game, I win something, I go to the next one, right? Everyone's been to a Dave and Buster's.
hmm.
And most people have played mini golf, right? Where you're like, cool, I've got a scorecard, I've got my team, we're gonna go do this thing together. Um, but when the currency is your emotional awareness rather than like raffle tickets, the fun thing that happens is we gave everyone a scorecard and a different color at each booth for a crayon to say it's the same like face recognition thing that therapists have where they're like circle which, point to which face matches the feeling that
Oh,
you're
that's
feeling.
cool. That's cool.
And so at the beginning, everyone circles something and they're like, I'm excited, I'm confused, I'm annoyed, I'm tired, whatever they are. Um, and then they play this first game, which is so simple. It's just keepy uppy. You try to keep a balloon up in the air for 30 seconds, and every 30 seconds, we add another balloon. And the swiftness with which people drop into their lived experience and being able to articulate their feelings is so gorgeous because almost unanimously it will be equal parts how when our barkers at the end ask go ahead and circle how you're feeling, how are you feeling, to have someone authentically ask how are you feeling
Yeah,
is great with an easy thing of like, oh, I'm feeling this and this, and you don't need a whole explanation.
just you
You're like,
point.
oh,
This is
you
how I'm
explained your
doing.
thing. How are you feeling? You're like, yeah, I'll have the chicken and a side of broccoli. Great.
Yeah.
Um, and so it's so beautifully split between, oh, that was really fun, and I was really disappointed or like frustrated. Wow, that in 90 seconds, I
Mm-hmm.
felt a lot, and it
Mm-hmm.
didn't take much. And I did it in front of four of my friends. And so that, like, the swiftness with which we can actually teach people, encourage people how to recognize that they are having a feeling and just name it without judgment is
Mm.
so great because it's not skewed to say, oh, you only had positive feelings, you win a prize. It's actually what happens towards the end is you're like, great, you checked off all of the feelings. This is your map. That's the expansiveness of your feelings is the prize, not just having felt happy the entire half hour.
Yeah, you don't
Yeah.
get an award for sustaining happiness. Like,
Oh my God,
I
you don't
love
get an
that.
award for sustaining happiness. 100%. You don't get an award for sustaining happiness. Yes. I'm going to
Right?
steal that.
Please take it. This is up for public
Yeah.
domain. And I
Yeah.
think, I love that, by the way, first of all, thank you for creating this because all adults need this. But what you
Yeah, I
just said
think
right there is
so.
you're going to bring it to a middle school. And if you actually think about the value of that for kids who are sitting down, their job is to accomplish things, to focus, to sit,
Mm-hmm.
and then they go home and quite often need to regulate. And what happens is more homework, more
Mm-hmm.
schedule, more, oh, go to bed, we gotta go to school. And I was like, and my 9-year-old son is verbalizing this to me already. Um, he's tuning into the fact that he goes to school and misses us because we can't spend enough time with him. So
Oh, good. That's good
I
parenting,
know, I'm
dude.
just like,
Well
just gut
done.
me right now. Like, it just
That's
broke
good
my heart.
parenting when your 9-year-old son is like, I miss you at school.
I'm like, I guess we're doing something right, but I just feel so gutted at the same time.
Yeah.
But I think the point is whether you're a parent or a kid, or you're trying to adult, or you're in school, college, whatever. I think it's amazing, like the spectrum of emotions that we experience as humans on a given
Mm,
day, and how much we do hold on to. And
mm.
I heard something beautiful recently about the interplay, and specifically between the strong connection between what is not being said. And I think to provide a space for people to say things or express them in a different way, that's information, that's data, that's emotion that wouldn't have come to the surface otherwise. I think it's beautiful what you're doing. That's the point of all
Yes.
this rambling. Is I love it.
Thank you. Well, and I do, to tie it back to like the tech part of it all. I think there is some work that we can all be doing to recognize that the emotions we are experiencing, our experiences, are as much valuable information as the facts about the periodic tables. And
Yeah.
I think for me right now, I'm so excited to be in work that shines a value on that. Even in the tech branding work that I do, I am so deeply committed to working with this small team that is in a significant way trying to build a tool to give themselves more time to dream and to kind of release some of the pressures of time boundness.
Mm.
So when I joke about like typewriters and spell check, but like to imagine my great grandmother knowing that I'm not looking up words in a dictionary and it just appears like magic. That is insane. Like, how dare I, right?
Right. That's actually, thinking it from that lens, it's trippy. Like, what would the generation prior
Oh,
think about the way we live now and the access that we have?
yeah.
Um, I have to riff on this with you because this is so
Okay.
important. It was, I think his name is Chris Williamson. Chris Will X is his tag, I
Mm,
think. Um, Instagram every once in a while will send some brilliant stuff on my feed, and I can't. I'm going to butcher the quote or the saying that happened on camera, but the host of this podcast was asking someone about AI and tech, and they
mm.
talked about how it intersects with humanity. And he said something brilliant, which is, whenever I go out with my mates, he's English, we all go around the pub and we ask questions about philosophy and history and art, and no one is allowed to use their phone.
Okay, I have so many thoughts about bar trivia. Great, go ahead.
Okay, so wait, hold that thought. But here's
Mm.
what he said. He said the reason we don't use our phones is because it's not about getting the answer. It's about how you got to the answer. And if you remove the journey, the process of getting there, you also remove conversation and connection. So it is now your mic, my dear. Tell
Great.
me the thoughts. I want to hear
Oh,
about bar trivia and what I just said.
okay. Well, I taught kids for a long time, and one of the behaviors that I find the most endearing about kids is that moment in their educational process where you can see them weaponize facts as status, where you can just watch a bunch of 8 and 9-year-olds. Their whole conversation for 10 minutes is like, did you know that leopards have 3,000 spots? Well, did you know that they only live in Southeast Asia? And did you know that if you have a leopard, it runs faster than a zebra? And did you know that zebras only, right? Like, that is an
Yes.
entire 7-year-old conversation.
Yep.
Um,
So true.
and I remember watching that and being like, oh, this is a communication tool. Interesting.
Mm-hmm.
And so for a while, I was very anti trivia, but I have been turned because I play with a team here in Philly and I played with a team back in Mammoth. And I recognize that it's so popular because it is an hour to hang out with your friends where being on your phone is against the rules.
Oh, brilliant.
That's it. That's it. No one gives a shit who like the order of the vice presidents of the merit. Like, okay, fine, great, you remembered, wonderful. But we spent a
Awesome.
whole like 3 minutes trying to debate who remembers the proper, rhyme to remember which state capitals there are.
That's
And so,
beautiful.
yeah, I think there's a lot in that conversational processing because, oh, well, and this, okay, to go back to the value.
Yeah.
And this is the thing that right now in my work I'm really chasing across brands and organizations and community events and things. Because I talk with tech startups who want to break the algorithm to get more followers, and I talk with environmental nonprofits who want to do the exact same thing.
Wow.
Because we're all just wanting to reach more people, right? We're all wanting to have more people connect with us because we used to be an information economy, but we are at the point where information is abundant and easily accessible. And it is not, we are going to see that it will very quickly become not valuable. I haven't taken a lot of economics classes, but I remember the concept
Yeah,
of
it's
supply
so
and
true.
demand. And when information is in a ubiquitous supply, then it loses its value. And to your point earlier about like care, I think care is going to become very clearly something that is highly valued because it is scarce in some populations. And I believe that the people who are, and this is, oh God, shout out Jeff and Andy.
I love the
Jeff and
shout outs.
Andy.
They're so great.
Jeff and Andy are two of my favorite people in Los Angeles. And they're currently making a show called Again, Again, Again. That's all about like caretaking and play.
Oh, that's so cool.
They both have TV, VFX backgrounds as well as improv backgrounds, and are doing participatory, site specific play, continuously built, collaboratively built production work. And
I love this.
Brilliant. Because I do think that we are going to find that care taking and caregiving are going to become the most valuable. Partially, you can tell that linguistically because caretaking and caregiving are one of the few. I'm such a Gemini. What's my deal?
It's working though. I get it. I get the connection.
Taking and giving are total opposites. You put the word care in front of it, they become synonyms. And I think that's because we don't really have a great word yet for care receiving or care needing. And I think that points to like a scarcity. I can like see it as like a tiny little fissure in where we are now. And like, I think that's where the friction is right now, is that we have a word for caregiving and a word for caretaking, but they are in fact synonyms the way we use them. And that's because we don't have a way to say, oh, I need care, I'm requesting care. And that's where vulnerability and like death by suicide start to happen, is you've spent too long not being able to request care because we don't linguistically have a way to say that.
Oh my God, that is so profound. That was, oh my God. But I think like everything you just said touches on, it's the journey that we haven't been able to focus on yet. In terms of like a bigger perspective of what's really going on, the silence, like the absolute silence and dark spaces that we find ourselves in when we're not able to verbalize that we need help, or even worse, when the not asking for help becomes our identity. The act of healing almost becomes like, it's almost like you feel like you're failing yourself by doing better, because otherwise what was the point of holding on to all that stuff in the first place if it's become your identity, you know?
Oh geez, yeah. Wow. Yikes.
I mean,
and that is ego death. Okay, that right there, that is ego death. And like
100%.
Oh, my identity is not tied up in the things I have accomplished. My identity might even be only visible and knowable in a triangulation of all the other people that I'm connected to.
100%. And I think there's so much of that journey. Look, I think it can make us really good at what we do. It could make us narcissists, maybe borderline sociopathic. So there's a spectrum, of how this journey plays out. But I think what's so important about your work now is because you are at these different intersections, and now you've got this unique window, this moment, an opportunity in time to connect with young lives and young minds.
Mm-hmm.
And this is a question I've been dying to ask you.
Okay.
If you could create an alternative educational experience and teach the three most important life lessons we don't learn in school, what would they be?
Oh, gosh. I don't know how you actually teach someone the self-love that is enmeshed in, I think the Buddhist term is like selfish wisdom. That's sort
Mm,
of,
mm,
I feel like the phrase put your face mask on first is like
mm-hmm,
cliche, but at the same time, I think that we've, industrial revolution right here, like we've put a lot of value into people for their productivity. And I think that has blinded us to the inherent value of human lives.
mm,
And in learning how to really like love by value, by caretaking and caregiving to yourself because you believe you are worth it, um, that counteracts being having your value be extracted, right? That counteracts having your value be extracted.
mm.
So I don't know how you would teach that, but that would be one big thing. Um, and then, oh God, this is so funny. Okay, so this book is called Infinite Right Answers. And the phrase I was just going to use is what it would be like to really know that there are no stupid questions. To really
Mm,
know that, like, oh, there are actually no stupid questions because curiosity and vulnerability are two of the most important things we can have as humans. And
mm,
they are delicate, they are easily exploited, they are easily crushed, and yet when they are fostered, they create the systems that strengthen our society. So figuring out ways to figuring out a way to teach someone, oh, there are no stupid answers, and there are in fact infinite right answers. No stupid questions,
mm,
infinite right answers are like a conversation piece. Um, and then, so yeah, like self love, always ask questions. And I think the other like nugget that I am so grateful my dad was able to teach me over the course of years and conversations is a reminder that sort of aligned with no stupid questions, and sort of aligned with those other two lessons is that we built this, right? Humans are building this. And
mm.
because we are actively building it and creating the experiences that we're in, we have more agency than we think to create them differently. They are not, almost nothing is so set in stone that enough people can't ask some questions and lead with love and make the system be different.
We need to create this school. Could you imagine if it actually existed?
That'd be
Or
very
just
cool.
we'll
A
align, we'll
learning,
coordinate, we'll create a workshop of some kind. Um,
amazing.
so, oh, I love what
Yeah,
you just said.
thank you. I mean, I honestly think like early childhood education is going to become one of the most important, valuable things because partially no one really wants their kids to learn how to be a human from a robot.
Yeah,
And when
a
you say
hundred. Yeah.
teach too, and when you say teach too, it's like, oh, you can you can memorize as many facts as you want, but until you've embodied the wisdom of how it impacts your life, it doesn't actually translate into action.
No, and I think it's like you said with information. It's so widespread. It's not a
Yeah,
commodity anymore. It's
right.
so easily accessible. So we're going to have to learn new things that the algorithm can't necessarily teach us or we can't extract from
Yes.
somewhere else.
Yeah.
Last few
And
questions here. Oh, sorry. No, go ahead. I cut you
I was
off.
just
Go
gonna
ahead.
say, honestly, if anything, like just like so many other things we've created, if it might be possible that we're creating AI to just become a tool to force us to really have conversations about what it is to be human.
Oh, oh man,
And
this is so
that's
good, and
that's wild.
this is
Yeah.
so good. It's so great. I'm literally that's what my brain goes to. I find
Yeah.
the value in the contrast to the rapid growth and development of this technology to the very real questions we are asking ourselves about our own humanity and what that means. I think
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
such a unique window in time to
Mm-hmm.
reflect
Yeah.
on these questions. I'm going to ask you this because I have found, on occasion, still to this day, this holds true. I occasionally venture into the dark spaces to
Mm.
find clarity and get grounded. And I asked myself this question during a pretty dark period in my life. And it actually helped me to really understand the big picture. Um, two parts to this question. Part one, if today was the end, God forbid you get off
Mm.
this podcast and have a tragic accident and you're aware this is your last moment on earth.
Mm.
If today was the end, what would be your biggest regret at this moment in your life?
Whoa, biggest regret. Wow. I think big picture, not being more brave.
Hmm.
Big picture, just not being more brave. Small
Okay.
picture, not having more sex. And I say that specifically because I was on a
Hell yeah.
plane. I was on a plane and I was flying from Austin back to Philly. And it was a spacious enough plane that for a while I had the aisle. I'm an aisle person, on ride or die. And
Yeah.
the middle seat was open. And then at the last minute, someone comes down, sits in the middle seat. They're an incredibly attractive person. And they were very nice, like tall drink of water, looked like a long distance runner, very attractive to me. Like well dressed, sat down, instantly started chatting. They work in law at the intersection of AI for law. We just spent like an hour talking about the future. We shared book recommendations, and then
Wow.
we both sat, both had our drink, like had our tea, and then we hit a giant patch of turbulence. And I swear to God, my first thought was, "Oh well, that's better." Because and I don't know if anyone else does this, but anytime I'm on a plane and
Yeah.
I'm not with my significant other, the
Yeah.
first thing I'm looking for is,
Yeah.
okay, if I have a minute, and it's my last
We got
minute
60
and we're
seconds.
going
Let's do
down,
this.
at least I'm sitting next to someone that I'm excited to end it with.
Oh, God.
So
That's
yeah,
so awesome. And our whole conversation was about getting to this point, right? That's it.
honestly, thank you so much for letting me share that story.
That was
Shout out
brilliant.
Daryl the lawyer. You know who you are.
That'd be great. How great would it be if he actually discovers this
It would
podcast? I'll get it out there.
amazing.
Well, that's beautiful. In the same breath, what would be your most peaceful thought or realization that you've lived a good life?
Oh, wow. By the same breath, it would be how deeply and passionately I have loved my husband.
Hmm.
Like that work of that relationship, because we've been married for 21 years. And the work of that relationship and the things that it has taught me, it has taught us, um, the things that it has enabled us to do together as a team.
Hmm.
I am so deeply proud of that.
That's fun. 21 years.
Yeah.
Congratulations.
Thank you. Yeah. And oddly, like we were kind of one of the we met very much in real life and at a time where people were starting to date online, and it is definitely different to know that like the reason we met was so fleeting. I was in Southern California. I had a grant to study choreography at a tiny 200-person dance festival in Maine. He was in San Francisco dancing with a dance company that was in residence there just for 1 week of this month-long festival. And we both ditched our commitments to go to this ballet class. And I was like, you seem cool. let's talk. And
I
then,
love this. The rest is
yeah,
history.
yeah. But that intersection, to bring you full circle, that intersection of like, oh, it's you know, the tools that allowed us to continue to meet each other and have a relationship. Like, if, you know,
Yeah.
without airplanes, without the internet, we would never have met, and without cell phones, we would never have stayed in touch. So,
Oh,
yeah,
the story of connection and technology. I can
yeah,
look. I think that is really beautiful. I think if we look at technology and tools like that as the way to create access to more moments and memories, ideally
yes,
in person or conversations, bless. Like
yeah,
that's what I'm looking forward to.
yeah.
Thank you for sharing this. Final
Thank you.
question.
Okay.
According to the wonderful Anne, what does it mean to own your truth?
Yeah. I was listening to someone else, very wise person, on a different podcast that I love. I think it was a doctor being interviewed on the 10% Happier podcast. And she was saying something like, I was terrified of asking for help. And then I started to just really honestly answer the question of how am I doing to my, trusted network. And suddenly I no longer had to ask for help because people knew what I was going through and they would offer. And so I think the more, it's like, oh, how are you doing? Like, I don't know, I'm a little stressed out. Like, I have, not only do I have to move this weekend, but I got a giant presentation and the car's in the shop. So I like really have to figure out how I'm going to get a car. And like, when you do that, suddenly people are like, oh, I got a truck. Do you want to borrow that? Or like, oh, can I
Mm-hmm.
at least make you dinner so you're not stressed about one extra thing? Um, so for me, yeah, owning your truth is about having the courage to both reflect on those dark spaces inside and reflect on how you're really doing, and to be able to share and express that with people you trust.